Okay, I watched a film called Creep. This was directed and written by Patrick Brice, starring Mark Duplass and Patrick Brice as well. And this is, a found footage film essentially. And I've only watched a few, and like this is me being a basic bitch. So I've only watched like the Blair Witch Project, and I think I've watched a bit of Paranormal Activity, but I just turned it off halfway through because it's just like shit.
They're no good.
No good. But this made me come around on found footage films, and it's just like it's short, but it's good that it's short because there's no filler. Like every scene is important based on the two characters and their interaction, and just the insane things that happens in the film. We meet this filmographer. He's called Aaron, and he's hired by this guy called Joseph, $1,000 a day to film him during his last moments because he's suffering from a brain tumor, and he's expecting a child. Not him, obviously, because he's a man. But but basically, he wants to show his son what he was like, who he was in that. And the film sort of starts off as sort of like, oh, that's nice, it's sort of wholesome in a way. And then it starts to get weird with all these weird, strange activities. There's the first scene where it's tubby time, and
Yeah, I've seen this film as well.
and and it's like it's a little strange, but you sort of go along with it. And then he starts. There's a bit after the tubby time bit where he goes, "I want to die" or something like that. And I think he tries to commit suicide by going and drowning himself. And it's like, from there on, you have a good idea of what this film really is about. I mean, obviously there's the total creep, but like, he's basically a massive troll, this Joseph character.
Yeah.
And like his performance is so mesmerizingly good. It's the facial expressions, it's just the constant change of like mood, and like the insane sort of spontaneous in terms of his performance. That is probably the best thing about the film. I want to say as well, like the way the whole film is shot, it has this amazing fluidity that every scene that comes out after the next one is organic. And like there's a bit after the tubby time scene where like Aaron, I know, yeah, he goes into his bedroom and he sees like this wolf mask. He goes, oh, that's Peach Fuzz.
Yeah.
And it's like,
horrific.
yeah,
wolf mask.
and you can pretty much kind of tell that Joseph, this character, is kind of like putting this weird performance on. He's almost improvising this whole, like, even when he starts singing, it's like, I swear he's just probably just making the lyrics as he goes along.
Yeah.
Like I can sort of imagine that most of this film is largely improvised, and that's good. I generally prefer that. I think halfway through the film, it's just after. Well, I'm trying not to spoil it too much because it is one of those films you have to watch. It's a great film. But halfway through, we sort of leave the place where most of the film takes place, and we move to Aaron's place. And like from there on, I think you said as well, like we both thought, like at that point, I thought the film was going to go really badly.
Like downhill.
Yeah, because it's just like, why change anything where you've got something good going anyway in the first place? So, but when we get to Aaron's place, and then we find out that he's been sent these weird parcels, and it's like these videotapes, it gets even better, and it's like, fair fucking play, man. Patrick Brice, well done. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, and it's like he receives these boxes, and we get like a little baby wolf, and like these weird cryptic videos of him like digging a grave and stuff like that. And it's like, it's the bits when he like comes over, and like there's a bit where Aaron, like, he wakes up in the middle of the night, and like there's like a weird Michael Myers moment where you see Joseph in the background just for like a split second. But you know how in like the Halloween films you don't really see Michael walking off, but in this one you sort of see him running off, and it's kind of funny in a weird way. But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, this film. But and the ending as well, like, fucking hell, the ending, man, Jesus Christ. The ending is, I don't want to say too much in terms of spoilers, like I said, but like the ending, you kind of know it's gonna happen, but the way the ending is done, you're sort of all for it. And like the way the ending is sort of like, it ends with like a video footage of like, someone's death. And then when the camera sort of pans out and you see Joseph's character, it's like the whole setup. Are you see in the background all these other videotapes implying other victims? It's just really set up very well.
Yeah.
Very great film.
Yeah, I liked it as well. I think for a found footage film, normally with found footage films, it's like they don't really care too much about the way shots look.
No.
But I feel like in this film, there's a few shots which have sort of stuck with me. Where there's one where what is it? Joseph is the
Joseph's the killer.
yeah. He's on top of some stairs, and the other character's at the bottom, and he's got like the camera up on him, and you can't see him. It's like that. What do I call it? Backlit. Like that's really good. And the way he, I am going to spoil a bit because there's a bit where he talks about how this is a bit brutal, but he talks about raping his own wife.
Yeah.
By
with the wolf mask.
And yeah, and it's like the way he's describing it is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's like the way this sort of this guy, he's like, yeah. I mean, it starts off and you think, oh, he's a bit eccentric, but you know, there's nothing too much at the
There's
start.
nothing concerning about it.
Yeah, but then, you know, like you said, it's like the way he sort of gets a bit like stranger. And
there's like
darker.
moments where he just jump scares him at random times.
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah.
like, you know, the spontaneous sort of side of him is a bit like.
It's quite. I don't want to say realistic, but like the way he sort of stalks Aaron's character.
Yeah.
At the end, it's quite real. And,
yeah, definitely.
And another shot I'm just thinking of is the shot where, sort of the Michael Myers shot where he's at the door and he's just standing there. Very good, man. I really liked it as well.
So carrying on from Creep 1, I watched Creep 2 because I was absolutely enthralled. This is starring, of course, Mark Duplass with a new addition, Desiree Arkaven, and Karen Sony, and it's directed by Patrick Brice, who played Aaron in the first one. It pretty much carries on from the first film, with the main character adopting the name Aaron, funny enough, and he's at a crisis at the moment because he's turning 40, and he sort of questions his whole role and existence because, you know, he's been doing this, you know, meeting with people through internet adverts, and he just doesn't seem to enjoy it anymore. But it's basically this film, we see a sort of different side to this character now. We see a somewhat more vulnerable side, which is not all what it seems to be, obviously. And it's basically, it's just another troll film. That's to simply put it like that, basically, yeah. With this newer character, she's called Sarah. We basically start off with her. She's basically an investigator. She does like these weird documentary series on YouTube that doesn't really go anywhere. And she basically meets eccentric people with sort of bizarre fetishes. And her sort of unique selling point is that, you know, she wants to understand them, she wants to empathize with them, and she wants to validate their, let's say, fetishes. And it's a really good idea to sort of set up this other character, to be fair, considering, you know, what she does in that. And obviously it's the same sort of formula. You know, she sees an advert on the internet and she meets up with this, you know, turns out to be the guy from the first one. But yeah, it's like this film, it's like this person, Sarah, she's basically the opposite of what Aaron was like in the first one, because she's used to dealing with people like this, you know, this serial killer, that she's sort of more daring and a bit more like, well, I'm kind of wise to your sort of, you know, spontaneous, you know, action where you are in that. So in terms of like him trying to scare her in that, she's just, you know, she's pretty much used to the whole bullshit, really.
Are you ready to go?
Wow, you're a tough nut to crack.
It opens a really interesting relationship with these two characters, and honestly, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a really good film. It's one of them. It's like, what can you do with a sequel? And it's like, you kind of have to follow the same formula because, you know, you can't sort of fix what isn't broken in the first place. So, but it's an interesting twist, and I think they did a good job.
Aaron, come on.
Really? All right. Get you at some point.
I've seen this film as well, by the way, and
What did you think of it?
I quite liked it. And I think the good thing about this film is that it doesn't. With a lot of like found footage films, they sort of just basically make the same film again, if you know what I mean. But this one doesn't, and I like that. And I like how sort of the beginning of the second one is kind of like a quick wrap up of the first.
Yeah,
it
because
reminds me of
in the first bit, I mean, you pretty much get a recreation of the first film, but with a different character.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It kind of reminds me of like the Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Where like the beginning
it's
of...
just a bit condensed.
Yeah, the beginning of Evil Dead 2 is basically the first film in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I do like that about the film.
Yeah, because it's sort of like, it's good for continuity.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But the thing is, though, it's like, Sarah, I think she has an idea of who this Aaron is. Because, he's just, an attention seeker, he just wants a bit of validation like the others and that. But for some reason, she isn't convinced that Aaron is a serial killer, and that's an interesting sort of, twist there. But it's like, there's moments where, she's just going to go along with it. She's taking precautions. She's like hidden a knife and, in a shoe and that. And it's like, you really have no idea what this guy's capable of until the very end. Spoilers, is that, they become a bit more affectionate with one another. And, there's a bit where he starts digging a grave and he goes, and she's like, what's going on? And, it turns out that, Aaron wants to kill himself and kill her. And that's when the film, drastically takes a left turn. It's like, oh, okay. And it's like, it's good. But then what kind of cheapens that sort of ending is the bit afterwards where you sort of see her being filmed. And she arrives at a train station and she goes into the train, she's sitting down. And then it's that split second when she sees Aaron again, and it's like, it's a bit of it's a typical sort of horror movie trope. It's like, it wasn't really needed. It's a bit cliched. I think it would have been fine if you just would have had the ending where, she finally kills him. Because even then, like, how was he able to survive that in the first place? It makes no sense. You sort of have to like, you just go with it. That's what happens. It's like, it's a bit of it's a typical sort of horror movie thing, and I don't really think it was needed.
Yeah, I think as well with the second one, I don't think there doesn't feel as much tension and as much sort of mystery.
Yeah. Because of this sort of characterization as Aaron being more vulnerable and more open about himself, it's not really intimidating or scary. It's more like, oh, okay. But I don't mind that. I don't mind it. Like I said, it's not a sequel trying to do the same thing, and I think that's the main important thing. And like you've said that there might be a third installment, and I'm just thinking, well, what else could they even do with the series?
Yeah, I think they've been saying, when did this one come out? Do you remember?
2017.
2017, yeah. So it's been 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
And I would actually love them if they did kind of like an Evil Dead thing where the third one is just like insane. Like not to the point where it's like silly.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind if like just fucking idea off the top of my head, like if they were making a movie about like him or something, and he sort of like plays himself. I don't know. Like
I could say that,
kind of like what they do with this one, where they make a documentary. But that's kind of what they did in like Scream and stuff like that. But I've got a feeling with this, if they do make a third one and sort of wrap up the trilogy, it would be cool to sort of maybe go even further with what they wanted to do with this one, and. Yeah, and even maybe if they made a third one and it wasn't found footage, I reckon that would be a cool idea as well.
Yeah, I can imagine a group of people this time rather than one person, because it's kind of been done to death now.
Yeah. But I think both of them films are quite good.
I think they're great. I think I still prefer the first one.
The first one's
because
better.
of just the way the tension built in that film so naturally. It's just, even when watching it back, it's still a much more enjoyable film than the second one. But both have their pros and cons. But